Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Today I'm presenting SB 1128, a bill that would eliminate the sunset date on a proven commuter benefit pilot program. This bill would authorize the continuation of the existing program, which requires Bay Area employers of 50 or more to offer some form of commuter benefit. According to the Joint Metropolitan Transportation Commission and the Bay Area Quality Management District report that was provided to this committee, this program's been successful in reducing vehicle trips, greenhouse gas emissions, and air pollution while having significant economic benefits for employees and employers. I would note that in your analysis, some of those benefits are codified. With this program in its first year, 44,000 employees switched from driving alone to an alternative mode of transportation. That created 4.3 million fewer vehicle trips, reducing vehicle miles traveled by 86 million. It reduced CO2 emissions by 35,000 tons. So all in all, I think a very good program. It's enjoyed support, bipartisan support, as support from environmental and business groups, has no known opposition. And with me to answer technical questions, I have Tom Addison of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District and Rebecca Long of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I ask.
Thank you, Senator. Witnesses in favor, please testify. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Tom Addison with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District, here in support of this bill. As the author noted, this bill has both significant environmental benefits, economic benefits for both employees and employers, and it's been tremendously helpful at making the congestion, which is bad in the Bay Area, not as bad as it would have been without this program.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Rebecca Long with the Metropolitan Transportation Commission. I just want to urge your support for this bill today. We feel that this is a great, low-cost, effective program. We've only had it up and running for about a year, and we're already seeing significant benefits in terms of reduced congestion and savings to employers, saving to employees. So we urge your support. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mark Watts. I'm here today on behalf of the San Francisco County Transportation Authority in support of this measure and ask for your aye vote. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Steve Wallach on behalf of the Golden Gate Bridge District, the Alameda County Transportation Commission, the Alameda Contra Costa Transit District, Napa Valley Transportation Authority, and CALACT, the California Association for Coordinated Transportation, all in support of this bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman and members, Michael Radigan on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, Santa Clara County, here in support.
Mr. Chair and members, Michael Pimentel here on behalf of the California Transit Association. Though it's not noted in your committee analysis, we are in strong support of this bill and ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Other witnesses in favor? Okay. We'll ask for opponents. Any opponents to Senator Glazer's bill? I see none. Senator, questions? Senator Roth has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. I'll be supporting the bill, but we've spent a little bit of time this year talking to various entities about applying a cost-benefit analysis to our greenhouse gas reduction programs, and I'm a little bit concerned about deleting the reporting requirement in the analysis. I will be supporting it. I just ask that maybe you take another look at that as this bill moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Other comments? Senator Glazer, you have the floor to close, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I ask for an aye vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have a motion on this item? There's a motion. Okay, thank you. There's a motion. We'll call the roll, please.
The motion is do pass. Senator Bell?
Aye.
Aye. Senator Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Allen, aye. Bates?
Aye.
Bates, aye. Gaines? Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye. Wachowski? Wachowski, aye.
Okay, thank you. We have 10 votes in favor, 0 opposed. That motion carries. Senator Gaines is not going to attend today. Senator Mendoza has his bill. This is SB 1072. While he's getting down there, we have a consent calendar item. This is item 3 on the agenda. SB 944, can we have a motion on the consent calendar? There's a motion on the consent calendar. We will call the roll.
The motion is due pass to appropriations with recommendation for consent. Senator Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Allen, aye. Bates?
Aye.
Bates, aye. Gaines? Galgiani? Galgiani, aye. Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Mendoza?
Aye. Aye.
Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye. Wykowski?
Aye.
Wykowski, aye.
Okay. That motion passes on a 10-0 vote. Senator Mendoza is presenting SB 1072 on school bus safety. And Senator, you have the floor to present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee members, I would like to begin by accepting the amendments on page 3 of the analysis to clarify that the DMV may specify the form of notification in cases when a child is left unattended on a school bus, and also the amendment to name the provision of the bill in memory of Paul Lee, who lost his life last September after being left on a school bus. If it is acceptable with the chair and the committee, I would like to ask that the amendments be taken in the Education Committee, which will be heard next week.
Okay.
SB 1072 protects children traveling to and from school by establishing a safe pupil transportation procedure to help prevent children from being left on the school buses unattended. While school buses are a safe way to get to and from school for millions of students across our nation, for children impacted by intellectual and developmental disabilities, school bus travel can often be more challenging. Unloading the school bus is the most dangerous time for students and can be a matter of life and death. Children left unattended on a school bus may be subject to extreme cold or hot temperatures, causing injury, trauma, or death. In a disturbing number of cases, children, many with special needs who are nonverbal or have fallen asleep, have been mistakenly left on a parked bus unattended for hours. These stories come from across our country, and many incidents have occurred here in our state. To name a few, in Goleta, California, a 4-year-old boy with special needs was left alone on a bus for hours. In Thermal, California, a child with special needs was left on a school bus until he was found by the next driver. In Orange County, a nonverbal teenager with autism was left on a bus for 6 hours, and the stories go on and on. Tragically, in my district, Paul Lee, a special needs student, passed away after being left inside a school bus on a hot day in Whittier last September. Today, his family is here with us to speak on their loss and the need for this bill to prevent another heartbreaking tragedy. We believe a significant number of these cases go unreported because many of these incidents do not result in noticeable harm to a child. Therefore, it is likely that many incidents go unreported. To prevent future tragedies, SB 1072 specifically requires that all public and private school buses be equipped with a child safety alarm system designed to require that the driver walk to the back of the bus to deactivate this system and make certain that the bus is empty. We do have a sample of that device to show to the committee. It's 2 pieces. This is the one that would be attached to the back of the bus, and the driver would have to go all the way to the back and make sure they press it in order to deactivate the alarm, and they could exit the bus safely. So this device here costs about $150. Alley Unified has provided this to all their buses, so that they are the largest school district in the state. In addition to this, we don't want the bill just to be a matter of requiring the driver to do his job, because his job is to go to the back of the bus and make sure it's empty. We also have a few things on this bill. It directs school districts to establish a safety procedure for bus drivers to follow and ensure that the driver checks the bus every time the route ends. It requires that bus drivers follow safety protocols on their annual renewal training. And finally, it allows for a reporting requirement to the DMV when a child has been left behind in the bus, and it allows the DMV to take action, whether it be to suspend or revoke the driver's license, depending on the severity of the case. With that, members, I would like to introduce the family of Paul Lee. Speaking today will be his mother, Un Ha Lee, and she is accompanied by her husband, Sang Sheik Lee, and his sister, Aiden Lee.
Okay, thank you. Witnesses in favor, please.
I would like to thank you all for being here today. I am Eunha Lee, and I'm the mother of Hyunjun Po Lee, who lost his life aboard the school bus on a very hot September day last year. It is hard to state in words the pain I feel of losing my loving son. Paul was a gentle boy with a beautiful smile. He had autism. He was our angel. He was adorable and perfect to me. The emptiness, disappointment, frustration, and the sadness that now fill our hearts cannot be described. Paul loved to go to school, and he was loved by his classmates, teachers, and staff. When he took his seat on the school bus, September 11, 2015, I believed that he was in safe hands. But on that day, he was not safe. He was left on that hot school bus for many hours, and due to the carelessness of others, my son lost his life. Paul's death should never have happened. School bus safety policies and the procedures must be in place and implemented to keep our children free from harm, because without them, all children are at risk. I will remain vigilant that Paul's death, while needless, will not be without change. Any safety protocol that have been in place need to be adhered to. Any safety protocol that have been in place need to be re-examined and reinforced regularly. Changes need to be made to remain proactive in ensuring the safety of our children. When a child boards a school bus, there should never be a fear of them being left behind. Today is the first step in backing up our words with actions. I would like to thank Senator Tony Mendoza for authoring Senate Bill 1072, because it will put safety protocol in place over the school buses to protect the children from being left behind. This bill will require our school buses in California to be equipped with a child safety alarm system that can only be deactivated when the bus driver walks to the back of the bus, thereby forcing the bus driver to check to make sure the bus is empty. Knowing that this bill has been written and bearing his name will put a big smile on Paul's face in heaven. I tragically lost my one and only precious son, and without Paul, our family cannot escape from drowning in sorrow each and every day. We will raise our voices in Paul's name to make sure that this senseless tragedy will never happen again. I ask for everyone's support, interest, and concern so that Paul's death will not be in vain. Paul, my son, my baby, I love you. I miss you so much. See you in heaven. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other witnesses, please.
Good afternoon, Senator Bell and members of the committee. My name is Janelle Lewis, and I am the chair of the Legislative and Public Policy Committee for the California State Council on Developmental Disabilities. The State Council is proud to sponsor Senate Bill 1072 and is grateful to Senator Mendoza's leadership on this bill. The State Council on Developmental Disabilities is established to ensure that individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their families participate in the planning, design, and receipt of the services and supports they need, which promote increased independence, productivity, inclusion, and self-determination. The council is comprised of 31 members appointed by the governor, including individuals with disabilities, their families, federally funded partners, and state agencies. I've been a teacher and educational consultant. I've also served on the California Legislative Blue Ribbon Commission on Autism Task Force on Education and Professional Development, but I'm here today to talk to you as a parent. I have 4 now adult children. 3 of them were diagnosed with neurodevelopmental disabilities, including autism. School buses were a big part of our life for many years. When your children with special needs ride the school bus, you worry with every ride. You carefully build in all the right trainings and supports, but still you must trust that the adult assigned to transport them will protect them from harm and deliver them safely to their destinations, including making sure that they are not left on the bus unattended. The sad truth is that children are forgotten on buses. Some may have intellectual and developmental disabilities, and some may be nonverbal. As a teacher, I knew of many instances when children fell asleep on buses and missed their bus stops. Much money is spent on schools and education in this state. Doesn't it make sense to implement a system that will ensure that our children get safely to and from those schools and educational pursuits? I urge you to support Senate Bill 1072 today. Thank you.
Thank you. Other witnesses, please. Got other witnesses? Okay, other speakers in favor of the bill, please come forward. Speakers in favor of the bill.
Greg DeGere with the ARC and United Cerebral Palsy California Collaboration, a coalition of people with intellectual and all developmental disabilities and their families, friends, and service providers, and we certainly support the bill and thank Senator Mendoza for his leadership.
Okay.
Thank you. Melissa Cortez Roth with Governmental Advocates on behalf of Autism Speaks and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders in support.
Lydia Bourne, representing the American Academy of Pediatrics California Division, as well as the California School Nurses. We are in strong support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, witnesses in favor, please. Okay, in favor. Witnesses concerns or opposed, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Josh Pane again on behalf of the California Bus Association. I have just a brief statement, but want to say this is an emotional piece of legislation. The Bus Association always supports safety first. The CBA would respectfully request a simple amendment that would preserve the Senator's great intent of protecting school children, but would allow a school pupil activity bus, which is a charter bus, not a yellow school bus, that type of trip called SPAB, the benefit of an exception from this requirement in the bill, because each SPAB trip has an adult chaperone, coach, parent, or teacher on board each bus. This is something that's been around since 1977. Since the adult chaperone counts the students on and off the bus, this is different than a school bus trip, which we're speaking of here today. This is an added safety feature that doesn't exist for these types of trips. This procedure is found in the Department of Education SPAB training program. This school pupil activity bus trip, whether taking students to Sutter's Fort, Disneyland, or school sporting events, is completely different than the home-to-school yellow bus trip. In the home-to-school trip, there is no other adult present, and the bus driver completes a route and may or may not check the bus. The SPAB law has been on the books since 1977, and to our collective knowledge, there has never been such an incident as this tragedy that occurred for this family. We respectfully request that when there is an adult present beyond the bus driver on a SPAB trip, that the trip be deemed to satisfy the provisions of the Senator's bill. We support the Senator's bill in regards to the yellow bus. We understand that provision, and we think that's a good thing, and we do have members who do yellow bus trips as well. What we have is a double human safety check system already in place that has served us well since 1977. Thank you for your consideration, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you. Other witnesses opposing, please. Anybody opposing? Any other witnesses? Questions for Senator Mendoza, Senator Allen?
This is actually for Mr. Pane. So just so I understand it correctly, you're suggesting that when there's a second adult who's in the back of the bus, that there'd be an exemption for those cases? Is that, could you kind of explain that?
Just in the case, what is called a SPAB.
In the SPAB trip, I'm sorry, I missed that.
There are three different types of activities the senator's bill is affecting. One is the yellow school bus, home to school. One is a youth bus, and one is a school pupil activity bus. That law's been on the books, school pupil activity bus. It's a charter bus that the school or parents or someone affiliated, coaches, they charter that bus, and that person, a chaperone, an adult, is on each of those buses, unlike the school to home transportation.
Okay.
So we're suggesting that what all's been talked about today is great. We think that's a great technique. But for these major buses, not just school buses, for these major charter buses, we think something reasonable when an adult is present, a chaperone of some sort, that trip called SPAB be an exception to this.
That certainly.
How many seats do these buses have, if I can ask, like these type of buses?
Charter buses have up to 48 seats. The bus that this particular tragedy happened was, I think, just a smaller bus itself. I think it was a small box bus. So all that's been talked about is about the yellow school buses. We do have members, a handful of members who are yellow school bus operators. They agree with this. But on the case of these major charter buses, they just don't do school activities. They do a variety of activities. They take people to the ball games as well. They take people to the lake. They take people to Arrowhead. So they have kind of a multi-use function. But the law is specific from 1977, school pupil activity buses, then we need a higher standard for the actual inspection of the bus, higher standard for the driver. What you're talking about today, that's already been in place for the driver. And this additional piece of a chaperone. So we're willing to say, if there's a chaperone on board, an adult additional to the driver, that takes you on and off the bus, that happens in SPAB trips, then that would be an exception to this. That's what we'd like to work with the senator on and have that direction from the committee and keep working on this with the senator.
That certainly sounds reasonable to me, but I'd love to hear the response of the author.
I want to hear from Senator Mendoza. Senator Mendoza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. First of all, I truly believe that this bill should cover any third-party company that transports children, no matter what activity they might be doing. This incident occurred where a group of school districts, because they don't have enough money, they pull their resources together to contract to a third-party company to transport our children. So it's already happening in third-party companies. These drivers actually follow the same training. These SPAB drivers follow the same training as a regular school bus. They have the same child check protocols as regular school bus drivers. So they do a lot of the same things, and they transport the same children. I truly believe that these safety measures should apply to any company, whether it be its own inherent school bus system that the school district, or anybody that they contract out. Buses are in here, third-party companies are there to make money, I get it. They charge for the field trip, they're not free. Those kids are just as susceptible and in danger of a regular school bus, if not more, just because of their length. I do think that they need to have it as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, isn't the issue that it just seems like a different situation, right? There's a chaperone on the bus, and it's a different type of bus.
There might be a chaperone, but again, the responsibility still falls where that driver needs to go to the back of the bus as part of their own internal protocol, as part of the safety training that they do every year, like every other bus driver, to go to the back of the bus and ensure that the bus is empty, regardless if there's another adult in the bus or not. That still has to happen. The thing is, our issue is it hasn't been happening, and it hasn't been recorded or monitored or in any way kind of documented, because it just hasn't been an issue. I mean, it's been an issue, but it hasn't been reported.
So, Mr. Pane, what's the problem with applying it to these bigger buses, having the driver go to the back and just press the alarm button?
Well, there's what they call a multiplex computer system on these charter buses, which is different than just your average school bus. That is more complex, and it's our understanding that it makes it much more complex just to hook this device into that very, very technical computer system. But let me just make sure, I don't know if I've communicated this properly to the senator, but the chaperone is the issue here. It's not a third party. A third party may have been the transporter here. We're not disputing that at all, Mr. Chairman. We're suggesting that if there is a chaperone on board, another party, which has happened since 1977 in the SPAB moves, what they call a move, a trip, then they should be accepted because you have a parent, a coach, a guardian, someone else on the bus. That's all we're saying. It's not a third-party issue.
Right, but if the chaperone's sitting in the front of the bus and everyone piles off and there's someone stuck in the back of the bus, the chaperone may not.
But the chaperone has a list, according to the Department of Education regulations and training for both drivers and chaperones. They have to go through the list. So does the driver. So what I'm really saying is there's a double check, a double human check system.
Whereas in the bus that, in this case, there was just, the kids were just getting off from stop to stop to stop.
Yeah, stop to stop to stop. This is Disneyland. They all get off. You got to count them. When they come back on, you got to count them. You got to know that you have that many kids. And the chaperone is the one responsible for that. Yes, the driver is there as well, but the chaperone in each and every one of these cases is the responsible party and actually has to count those kids. That's all we're saying. In that case, no contract, it doesn't matter. It's only on the chaperone piece. That's really what we're suggesting to the committee.
All right, Senator Mendoza, any other questions?
Well, I guess I'm just having trouble understanding, Senator, your objection to that. This was a terrible tragedy, and I think, you know, what is being suggested would absolutely avoid it under the terms of your bill with that amendment. And I guess I'm having trouble understanding your objection to the suggestion.
Reason, but if I could do it in my closing, Mr. Chair, because I know you're running out of time.
Unless there's other questions. Anybody
There's other
questions? Okay, we have a motion.
Oh, there's another question here, Mr. Chair. So I'll go ahead and answer it, I guess, if you want me to.
Okay, Senator Roth has some questions. Go ahead.
Just a quick one. You said $150 per device? Yes. Does this just hook up to an alarm on they just put an alarm on the bus, or is it an ignition kill system?
Actually, we just saw a presentation of it right outside the Capitol today, which was really nice. So what it does is that, so the bus driver opens the door, lets everybody out, and the alarm in the back of the bus starts beeping. It's really low, starts beeping, and it'll beep for about 2 to 3 minutes because that's telling the driver, okay, now you got to go back to the bus and hit the red button, right? The one I just showed you. You got to go back to the bus and hit this red button to turn that beeping sound off. And if you don't go within those 2 or 3 minutes and you pretty much already left for the day or gone, then the whole bus will begin to, the horn will start honking and the lights start flashing. The bus is going to go off. You got to go back in there and turn it and push the button to make sure it's off.
And
so it's just to make sure that you do that.
And is it the last piece that causes problems with the computer system in the bus?
Yeah, yes, Senator, this is a multiplex system. It's very different than the standard yellow bus system. This is a $600,000 vehicle with this whole computer system programmed into it. So it gets very, very complicated. The brochure that the senator has and these products work on are yellow buses. So all we're really saying is we already, for these types of moves, school pupil activity bus moves, have another adult on board. And that adult takes them on and off. So
I get that. Have you done an estimate as to the magnitude, financial magnitude of this cost?
You know, we're not sure because what we've seen is just the yellow bus side of it. As the senator has a brochure from one manufacturer, it just is all about yellow buses. So we're not even sure. We've reached out to the manufacturing side to see if it's possible, but we're not sure it's possible on these $600,000 touring buses.
Senator Mendoza.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, for the sake of time, I would like to suggest to the committee that I would like to continue to work with the opposition. we had 2 vendors out here today for 2 different types of systems. There's about 3 or 4 vendors that do this. I would like to continue to inquire with these vendors to see if the technology on these buses are incompatible with the devices that they sell. And if that is the case, I don't want to, for them to incur an additional cost or be ramped or for the, I guess the bus technology that they use is totally incompatible with an outside vendor device, which, I'm open to work with them on that, and I will, as we move forward, I would like to work with them on those concerns, if that's true. I'm not sure. I haven't, first time I hear that there's I think it was more that I was under the impression that they wanted just to be exempted out. I didn't know there was actually a technological problem with the new buses that are coming out for them being able to add an add-on or some sort of aftermarket device. I never heard that. Most cars welcome aftermarket devices and so forth. I would love to have the opportunity to look into it if I can.
Yeah, there's a motion on the bill. Any other questions? Senator Allen, you have another question?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your offer to work with the opposition. I from just this very cursory level of understanding, it seems as though what's being suggested would not impact, what you're trying to get at, which is making sure that something like what happened in the case of this family doesn't happen again. So I certainly appreciate your offer of working with Mr. Pane and others on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. You want to close your?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In closing, it is human error that got us where we're at right now. No technology will get us out of this problem, ever. And I know that we have they suggest they have 2 adults in the bus that are going to make it even more safer. I don't know. If it's the same no technology, the same human decisions or that allowed us to be in the situation we're at today. And I'm sure those school buses and those schools are supposed to check in those kids as they're coming off and onto the bus, especially the district buses. So I do think there's a lot of room for error and danger for our students. I do believe this bill is necessary, and I'll be working with the opposition as far as their concerns, but I do feel that this has to apply to us as that transport children, period. But
yeah, thank you, Senator. I just want to make a statement, kind of more on a historical standpoint. These buses that have picked up and dropped off at school children that have various disabilities, if you go back, a lot of them did have chaperones on the buses, so there'd be a driver and a chaperone. And what's happened over time in various school districts is the chaperone disappeared, then the driver has less and less training in terms of the training, and that kind of issue. So I think at this point now, Senator Mendoza's bill is correct in the sense that there's been some school districts that have, I guess, devolved the transportation of children of special needs to the point where the state needs to have some action taken to at least assure some safety and protection for the children. That's why I am supporting Senator Mendoza's bill, because I think there's been some big change. There's been a kind of a change over time with these kinds of buses, and we don't want to see any more tragedies. And thank you for coming, and we're sorry for your loss and your family. So I certainly will support this. And so we can call the roll, please.
The motion is do pass and refer to the Committee on Education. Senator Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Allen, aye. Bates? Bates, aye. Gaines? Galgiani? Leyva? Aye. Leyva, aye. McGuire? Aye. McGuire, aye. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mendoza, aye. Roth? Aye. Roth, aye. Wachowski.
We have 8 in favor. That's enough for the bill to pass, but we'll wait until other members that are absent come back to vote. So thank you, Senator.
Mr. Chairman, if this is appropriate, I'd like to make a motion to grant reconsideration for SB 876 at this time.
Okay, there's a motion. Can we have the roll call, please, on that? This is a reconsideration of SB 867 by Senator Lewis. She's made that request, so call the roll, please.
The motion is to grant reconsideration. Senator Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
Aye.
Cannella, aye. Allen? Bates? Aye. Bates, aye. Galgiani? Leyva? Leyva, aye. McGuire? McGuire, aye. Mendoza? Mendoza, aye. Roth? Roth, aye. Wachowski?
Allen, aye.
Allen, aye. 8-0.
That passes on 8-0. We're going to leave the roll open for absent members to come back and vote, and this concludes the testimony. I'll stay here until absent members come back and we can record their votes. So
Yes, Galgiani said she'd be back.
she's coming back.
I'm not sure about Senator Wachowski.
You'll find out. We'll find out. No.
Senate Bill 812, the motion is due pass as amended and referred to the Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Communications. Senator Allen? Aye. Allen, aye. Gaines? Galgiani? Aye. Galgiani, aye. McGuire?
Aye.
McGuire, aye. Wachowski?
Aye.
Wachowski, aye.
That motion passes on a 10-0 vote. We got a consent calendar. Call the roll, please.
Got consent.
Is there anybody absent? Okay, that passed. Okay, that passed.
So,
One more.
Senate Bill 1072.
Now we're on 1072.
This has been Bill 1072. This is Senator Mendoza's bill.
The motion is due pass and referred to the Committee on Education. Senator Gaines? Galgiani? Aye. Galgiani, aye. Wachowski?
Aye.
Wachowski, aye.
That motion, that bill passes on a 10-0 vote.
Which we should be done.
Okay, we're done. I wanted to let the committee know that next week's going to be a long meeting, so prepare for a long meeting. And we're adjourned.